So hello everyone. So today we'll be discussing current affairs, environment topics, the remaining topics. Okay. So first we'll see which are the important topics we'll be covering today. We'll start with the Energy Conservation Amendment Act, which was recently passed. Then there is a dynamic groundwater resource assessment report by the ministry. We'll see that. Then we'll see the One Water approach by the United Nations. And there's also a UN Water Summit on Groundwater 2022. Then we'll see the Jal Shakti Abhiyan by the central government. We'll move on to the Water Convention for the protection of transformative water courses and international lakes. Then we'll see the lead poisoning issue in India. We'll see all the water contaminants and the corresponding diseases which it spreads. Then there's a new concept called forever chemicals, which was in news quite frequently this year. So we'll see that also. Then all the international convention to reduce the pollution, such as Stockholm Convention, Rotterdam Convention, etc. So we'll see that. After that, we'll be seeing the pesticides, such as iprodion and herbivores and its impacts. Okay. Then we'll see the concept Jaldood app. Jaldood app is a new app launched by the government. So we'll see that. Then the UNCCD conference, that is the 15th COP of UNCCD. Then we'll see a report by UN called Drought in Numbers report. Then the latest amendments to plastic waste management rules and also Project Replan launched by the government. Then also e-waste management rules, which has been recently amended. So all these we'll be seeing. And also National Bioenergy Program. So these would be the topics we'll be covering today. Okay. So yes, we'll start with the Energy Conservation Amendment Act. Okay. So this was in news mainly because it is one of the acts which was recently passed by the government. So there is high probability that UPSC will ask. Okay. So they have a tendency to ask all the acts which was in news. Okay, or which are lately passed by the government. So what is the importance of this act? It actually amends an Energy Conservation Act, which was earlier there in 2001. So it is an amendment to the act. And why is it amendment? Yes, it is in order to achieve the UNFCCC 26, that is COP 26 goals. Okay, so that means they are trying to incorporate the concept of mandated use of non-fossil fuel sources and also a carbon credit trading system. Okay. Through this, they are trying to ensure faster decarbonization of the Indian economy. Okay. And apart from that, it also empowers the central government to provide carbon credit trading scheme and also an energy conservation sustainable building code. Okay. So these are some of the facts of regarding the new Amendment Act. Okay. So we'll see the key provisions. Yes, I've already told it has given mandatory use of non-fossil fuel energy, that you have to use non-fossil fuel energy sources. Then apart from that, designated consumers has to meet at least a minimum share of energy consumption from non-fossil fuel sources. So who are these designated consumers? Yes, certain types of industries which use high electricity, which consume high electricity, then the railway sector, all those. So some consumers who are consuming high amount of electricity has to at least have a minimum share of non-fossil fuel, minimum share of the energy consumption from non-fossil fuel sources. Okay, so non-fossil fuel sources are sources such as wind, solar power, etc. Okay. So that is one provision of the act. Then we have different consumption threshold based on the different non-fossil fuels and consumer categories. And if anybody fails to achieve these obligations, they are punishable with a penalty up to rupees 10 lakh. Okay. So any industry or organization which does not follow these amendment, they have to pay a penalty of rupees 10 lakh. Okay. Then apart from that, there is a new carbon trading mechanism. This is not actually a new mechanism. It was earlier introduced in the COPs of UNFCCC. Okay, so the central government are trying to specify a carbon credit trading scheme. Okay, so and also they are trying to issue this carbon credit certificates. So all the agencies which are involved will be given a carbon credit certificate. So we'll see what this carbon credit trading scheme is after on. So just remember there is a carbon credit trading scheme which is implemented. So what exactly is this carbon credit trading scheme? Yes, so we know what is the target of the Paris climate goal: to keep the temperature, global temperature, well below 2 degrees Celsius and if possible below 1.5 degrees Celsius, right? So in order to achieve that target, there's a particular amount up to which we can emit carbon or the greenhouse gases. So if the greenhouse gas goes beyond that, then we'll not be able to achieve that 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius target. Okay, so there is a carbon budget. So only so much amount of carbon could be released, right? So that carbon budget is divided among all nations. Okay, so each country in the world in a year can release certain amount of carbon. Okay, so when a particular country gets a carbon budget, they divide it among industries who among all the emitters. Okay, so if they have 100 units of carbon which they can release, they distribute it to all other industries or emitters. Okay, so each emitter can spend up to a maximum of a certain amount of carbon. Okay, but like already India is one of the greatest carbon GHG emitters, greenhouse gas emitters, after China and the US, right? So every industry will have an excess. But suppose there are two industries. One industry, the emitter, that particular emitter has excess of carbon emission. But there's another industries which focuses on green technologies and etc. And they have a reduced, that is very much lesser amount of GHG emissions. So they'll have some budget, this carbon budget, which have in excess. Like if suppose there are 100 units of carbon for an emitter, like for example, this emitter B has 100 units, this emitter A also has 100 units. So this guy, emitter A, spends 150 units. Okay, they need 150 units to meet their energy requirements, while this emitter B just needs 50 units. So if that is the case, this emitter B can sell their excess 50 units to the carbon market. Okay, and this emitter A can buy it from the carbon market. So this excess 50 units of emitter B can be bought by emitter A from this carbon market. Okay, so that means on the overall, the carbon this emission will be within the carbon budget limit. Clear? So that is the concept of carbon trading mechanism. Okay, so there's a particular carbon budget up to which we can spend, and whenever a company spends below it, they can sell their excess carbon to the market, and whoever needs it from the market can buy it. Okay, so that is the concept of carbon trading mechanism. And the recent amendment to the Act has given more emphasis on this mechanism. Clear? Okay, so now we'll move on. So we'll see what are the major changes which has happened from both the acts. Okay, in 2001 Act and 2022 Act. So first we'll see the Energy Conservation Code for buildings. So whenever a building is constructed, they have to follow the Energy Conservation Building Code. Okay, so that there is efficient utilization of energy. That means like they can use the sunlight properly, or they can use renewable sources of energy, etc. Okay, so the 2001 Act actually empowered the central government to specify energy conservation code for buildings. Okay, and the latest Act improvised it to not just energy conservation but also sustainable building code. Okay, so yes, that was one change. Another change is earlier it was just for commercial buildings, but now it is expanded to both office and residential building as well. That is, every residential or office building which is being constructed should follow the energy conservation code for buildings. Okay, so that is one change. Another change is it also puts standards for vehicle and vessels. Okay, so what are these vehicles and vessels? Okay, already yes, this energy conservation Act had provisions for what? The certain standards for equipments and appliances such as AC or mixie grinder, etc. So all the appliances had some standards for which they can consume, generate, transmit, or supply energy. Okay, there was energy consumption standard. But this also has been expanded toward vehicles and vessels. Vehicles, because there are so many vehicles on the roads now. And also vessels means ships and boats. Okay. So the ambit of this scheme has been expanded. Okay. Then if you're talking about the State Electricity Regulation Commission, earlier they could educate penalties. Okay. Now in the latest amendment, they can give penalties as well as what? Make regulations for discharging their functions. Okay, that is one amendment which has happened. And yes, the earlier act provided for the constitution of a Bureau of Energy Energy Efficiency (BEE), which had a membership of 20 to 26 members in the governing council, but this membership has been expanded to 31 to 37 members in the governing council. Okay. So these are the basic changes which has happened in both these codes, and more emphasis has been given in what? For carbon credit schemes. Okay. So this is what you must remember regarding Energy Conservation Amendment Act. Okay. Clear? Okay. So yes, there has been provision for energy conservation code for buildings, and its ambit has been expanded to what? Office and residential buildings. Then apart from that, vehicles and vessels has also been included in the ambit. Okay, then the changes for state electricity regulatory committees, that also they can make regulations for discharging their functions, and also the Bureau of Energy Efficiency Standards and governing councils membership has been increased to 31, between 31 and 37. Okay, clear? Okay, so now we'll move on to the next topic, that is Dynamic Groundwater Resource Assessment 22 report. Okay, so who publishes this report? Yes, it is the Central Groundwater Board under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. Okay, so Ministry of Jal Shakti is what? Preparing, the Central Groundwater Board and states are preparing this report who are under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. So Dynamic Groundwater Resource Assessment Report. And what does this say? Yes, it obviously will be related to what? Groundwater. And according to this report, India is the largest user of groundwater. That means in the whole of the world, almost 1/4 of the total withdrawal of groundwater is from India. Okay. So what? So much amount of groundwater we are extracting. Okay. And another important fact is almost 87%. Okay. So much, that is almost more than a quarter, 3/4. Okay, 87% is used for irrigation. So we are the largest user of groundwater, and we are using it majorly for what? Irrigation. Okay. And there's an interesting fact also. This groundwater extraction is actually declining. Okay, the rate at which we are extracting is declining, but number of overexploited units has also decreased. Okay, recent trends are showing that there has been decline in groundwater extraction, as well as overexploited units have also declined. Okay, and according to statistics, there is only 67% of groundwater units which are safe. Okay, and 14% are overexploited and 4% are critical. Okay, that means this groundwater units. So whenever water is taken from the groundwater, we have to recharge it. That is, the water should be given back into the system either through what? Rainfall or to some other mechanism. Okay, so only then can we have a sustainable source of groundwater. So according to the statistics, 67% of the groundwater units are safe, 14% are overexploited, and 4% are critical. Okay, then also we know that highest agriculture is irrigation, canal irrigation or tube well irrigation is happening where? In Western India, that is Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan region, right? And that is where what groundwater extraction is very high. Okay, so these are some findings of this report. Clear? So Remember, India is one of the largest extractor of groundwater, and majorly it is used for what? Irrigation. But yes, groundwater extraction has seen a declining trend. On also, number of overexploited units has been declined. And where is it found? Majorly in West India, but that is countries such as Haryana, Punjab, and Rajasthan. And why there? Because that is where irrigation, that is tube well or well irrigation is the highest. Okay. Yes, so these were the key findings of the report. So let's see what are the major problems with rampant use of groundwater. So we are already extracting a high amount of groundwater. So what will happen if groundwater is extracted like this? So that's what we are going to see. Yes, first and foremost, it is the lowering of the water table. So what is water table? Yes, if we dig on the soil, if we go deep, after some point there'll be water below the soil surface, right? So that level where we can find water is the water table. And that water table determines the amount of moisture content in the soil, the dryness or aridity of the soil, etc. Okay, so if we keep on extracting water from the well, this water table actually declines. Okay, just imagine a glass of water with straw. So if we keep on sipping water from the straw, the level of water in the glass declines, right? The same thing happens. Okay. Then another problem is reduction of water in streams and lakes. How is it so? Yes, this water table is actually linked to what? The streams and lakes. Okay, so whenever we extract water from here, there'll be decline in water in streams and lakes. Okay, then yes, land subsidence. So whenever water is taken out, there'll be what? Subsidence of land. Okay, apart from that, yes, cost of water would also increase. Mainly because water would not be available. That means the cost of water would be higher, and also there'll be higher amount of extracting water. For example, if there is tube well or well, we'll have to dig more to get water. So that means higher cost, right? And also the quality of the water also deteriorates. Okay, there'll be salt water contamination. Why so? As if we go deeper and deeper into the land, what happens? There'll be higher mineral contents. Right. So whenever there's less water and higher mineral content, there'll be what? Mixing of minerals with the water. That means there can be what? Higher polluted water. Water could be get polluted, and also salt water could concentration of salt also increases. Okay. Yes, and also it interrupts the natural water cycle. Yes, we know how the water cycle happens. Well, how is the water cycle? There is water from the surface of the land or like ponds, etc. They evaporate, go up, then through precipitation comes down, and goes out through the plants and through what transpiration, etc. And this natural cycle will be disrupted if we are extracting the groundwater. Okay. Then also obviously there'll be an impact on food security. Why? Because the areas that would be what desertified or degraded would increase when there is decline in water table. Okay, so there'll be dry lands, more and more dry lands. That means we cannot cultivate what foods. That means there'll be impact on food security. Here, so these are some of the issues with over exploitation of groundwater. Okay, clear? Yes. So yes, we'll see a new concept now. That is the one water approach. Okay. So we already saw the major challenges with regard to what overuse of groundwater. So already we know that yes, water is becoming stressed and there is less available water. So according to this one water approach, they are telling that every water has value. That means whatever be the source of water, let it be storm water or let it be groundwater or let it be from the lakes, fresh water, or let it be the water from the waste, that is reusable water. Every water has some value. That is this one water approach. Okay. So yes, it is an initiative by the UN. It was recently started by the UN, and it has estimated that by the year 2050, 4 billion people would be water stressed. Okay. Just imagine 4 billion people would be water stressed. Okay. And that is why they were pushing the one water approach. Okay. So according to this, one water means all the water has value. regardless of its source. Okay. And what should we do? This initiative tries to what? Manage the source through an integrated, inclusive, and sustainable manner. So whatever be the source of water, we are trying to manage it. Okay. And we must take all the stakeholders into account. That is, if we have to make this approach successful, there should be community participation, industrial participation, farmers, conservation, everybody, academicians, everybody should come together to make this a success. Okay. So it is actually a participatory approach. Okay. So we'll see the one water, what all water. So we have all water is one water. That means drinking water is there, waste water is there, recycled water is there, storm water is there, groundwater is there, and surface water. Everything comes together. Storm water means the water from rain, okay, precipitation. Okay, surface water means water from lakes, rivers, etc., found on the surface of the earth. Okay, so yes, all these water comes together in one water approach. Okay, everything has value. Okay, so we have to what sustainably use it. And what are the characteristics of this one water approach? Yes, the first is the mindset that all water has value. Okay, so they're telling that water is in our ecosystem, that is drinking water, wastewater, storm water, everything has value. So first we should have that mindset. Okay, then they're also calling for a multifaceted approach. That is, our water related investment should provide both economic, environmental, and social returns. Okay, so whenever you're trying to conserve water or manage water, it should give both economic, environmental, and social returns. Okay, then also they are calling for utilizing watershed scale thinking and action. That means they have to sustainably manage the watersheds. The watersheds means where we can find water along the courses of river, source of like the tributaries of river and everything. All together forms what watershed. So they are trying to restore this watershed and through natural ecosystem geology and hydrology of the area, we're going to study it and sustainably manage this watershed. Okay. And obviously, there is partnership and inclusion. That is, you have to recognize all the stakeholders and they have to come together to implement this approach, one water approach. Okay, remember, first thing is the mindset, and there's a multifaceted approach, then utilizing watershed scale, thinking and action, and partnership and inclusion. These are the pillars of one water approach. Okay, and what would be the objectives? Yes, obviously, it ensures what reliable, secure, and clean water supplies. Okay, so we must ensure clean water supplies. Then there is what aquifer recharge. So what are aquifers? We'll see it in the next slide. So aquifers is thing that these are water stored inside. So whenever there is groundwater, the water stored inside the rocks or soil is the aquifer. Okay, so that it has to be recharged. Okay, then there is flood protection. Then there is minimizing environmental pollution. Then efficient use and reuse of natural resources. Okay, it's not just the use of natural resources, we are trying to reuse it as well. Okay, then resiliency to climate, all the climate impacts. Okay, long-term sustainability, equity, affordable, and accessibility to safe drinking water, and economic growth and prosperity. Okay, so these are the major objectives of what this one water approach. Okay, so there should be reliable, secure, clean water supplies. There should be aquifer recharge initiatives. Flood protection should be given. Minimizing environmental pollution, efficient use and reuse of natural resources, resiliency to climate impacts, and long-term sustainability, equitability, affordability, accessibility to safe drinking water, and economic growth and prosperity. These are the objectives of what this one water approach. Now we'll say what an aquifer is. So you can see here. So this is the surface of the earth. So I told you, as we dig in, there is a level where we can see water. That is water table, and the water below it, that between the soil and the impermeable rock, it is aquifer. Okay. And if we dig a well, this water into the well comes from this aquifer. Okay, so that is an aquifer. So whenever we extract water from the well, it has to be recharged. Usually it is rainfall which recharges this aquifer. And if we are extracting water from regions where there is very less rainfall, and this recharge would be very less. So we must ensure recharge through initiatives such as rainwater harvesting or lakes, ponds, etc., artificial lakes, etc. Okay, so that is yeah, equity and the concept of one water approach. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll see another thing which was in news, that is United Nations Water Summit on Groundwater 2022. Okay. So yes, recently there was a water summit by the United Nations. So the organizers are UN Water, UNESCO, and International Groundwater Resource Assessment Center. Okay. So they were the organizers, and the main theme was the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework. So what is SDG 6? The Sustainable Development Goal 6. It calls for water, sanitation, and hygiene, WASH. That is the theme of SDG 6, and this summit, that is Water Summit on Groundwater, would discuss the global action framework for achieving SDG 6. Okay, so the objectives includes what? To raise awareness on groundwater conservation and to highlight opportunities and challenges of groundwater management. So they're trying to create awareness. So everybody knows, most of the people are dependent on groundwater, and they must be given awareness that they have to recharge the aquifers. Okay. Then apart from that, there was also one groundwater making the invisible visible campaign which is going on, and this summit marked its conclusion. Okay, so groundwater making the invisible visible campaign. It was a campaign by the UN, and this summit marked the end of this campaign. Okay, so we'll see what this groundwater making the invisible visible campaign is. So yes, through this initiative, we highlight the significance of the role of groundwater in what? Alleviating poverty, food and water insecurity, and its impact on socio-economic developments. Okay, so that was what we are trying to do with what? This making the invisible visible campaign. Yeah, just remember like this. What are when we extract groundwater, the food, water insecurity, poverty, etc., are invisible factors, right? Its impact on social economic development are invisible. We cannot directly feel it, so they are hidden. So we are trying to make those invisible factors visible. So that is this groundwater making the invisible visible campaign. Okay, so how is groundwater linked with food, water security, and poverty? Yes, food we already saw. As we extract more and more water, there'll be what? The land would turn dry. There'll be drought. Okay, there'll be higher aridity of the land. So that means we cannot cultivate what? We cannot do agriculture. That means it will impact the food. There'll be reduced yield of food. Okay, so yes, that means food insecurity. Then obviously there'll be water insecurity because you cannot get good quality drinking water or whatever water from if the polluted water, or as the water table declines, the water would be contaminated. Okay, then that means what? If there is no food and water, yes, there'll be poverty. Okay, even if you have money, you would not be able to have what? Food and water. That means famine would be there, and obviously what? Poverty. Water and food becomes much more costlier. Okay, and if there's poverty, obviously it will impact what? The socio-economic development of the region. So these are the invisible factors, and this campaign tries to address what? Making these things visible. Okay, and it is an initiative by the UN. Okay, now we'll see what were the steps taken by the Indian government to what? Ensure groundwater conservation. So we already know that groundwater is India is one of the greatest extractors of the groundwater. Okay, so we have an Atal Bhujal Yojana for groundwater management, was launched in 2019. Okay, you can see the Bhujal. Bhujal means water from the earth. Okay, so even if you don't if you cannot connect it, just remember Bhujal, the term. Okay, so Bhujal means water from the earth. So Atal Bhujal Yojana is related to what? Groundwater management, and was launched in 2019. Then there's a Jal Shakti Abhiyan, flagship initiative of the government to It was launched in 256 water stress districts in the countries and to improve the water availability. So we'll see that in detail. Okay, then we have also the aquifer mapping and management program. So we also saw about the aquifer in the last topic, right? So aquifer means, so we know like where and all water can be. So if you're doing proper aquifer mapping, we can see where and all water is mapped. So India is a country where we have both water stress condition as well as water excessive conditions. Like consequently, we have places where we have drought as well as where there is flood. That means we can map, if you're mapping the aquifer, where there is water, so we can understand where at what level water is across the country, right? So we can supply water from excessive water region to water deficient region. Okay, and based on that, we can significantly manage the groundwater table. Okay, so if you're also mapping aquifer mapping, if you're doing aquifer mapping, you can also like understand to what extent water could be extracted from the region, how much water should be used for what irrigation. Okay, and also you can also do like make alternative mechanisms. Okay, so okay, one important thing you must remember is why is water excessively being used by the farmers, or why is it being used for irrigation? I told 87% is used for irrigation. Why is it so? Yes, actually water is free. Okay. Even the electricity for water, it is subsidized. Like, for example, the motor, the electric motor for electric pumps, which is used to pump out water from the groundwater. It's actually subsidized or free. Okay. So that is why the farmers are actually using flood irrigation mechanisms. Okay. So that means whatever be the water table, they are not accountable. Okay. So that is one of the reasons why this groundwater is depleting like anything in India. Okay. So the subsidy on electricity is actually impacting what the groundwater table. Okay. One alternative for this is the sprinkler and drip irrigation, but the cost of installation is higher. So if government can do anything for that, it will be a better solution. Okay. So yes, these are the important schemes. We spoke about Atal Bhujal Yojana, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, and Aquifer Mapping and Management Program for efficient groundwater conservation. Okay. Now we'll see the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is a flagship program of the government. Okay. So it is under the Ministry of Jal Shakti and launched in 2019. Yes. The campaign is for water conservation, water security in India. Okay. So it is a multi-level ministries program, central, including all the ministries of central and state government concerned. Okay. Then yes, the coverage. It actually what tries to ensure water security. Okay. And availability of water, groundwater in 256 water stress blocks, 256 districts. Okay. Water stress blocks of 256 districts. That is the coverage of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Okay, remember it's under Ministry of Jal Shakti. Okay, and they are trying to what? Do a participatory approach. So most of the schemes launched nowadays is having a participatory approach, because government knows now that only if the people are involved can the objectives of the initiatives be successful. Okay, so they're trying to create a Jan Andolan for conserving the water. Okay, even our Prime Minister has called for what? Rainwater harvesting. Right. It is also part of this Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Okay. And apart from that, they are also trying to create infrastructure, that is local infrastructure for source sustainability. That means source sustainability means, yes, there should be sustainable source of groundwater. Okay. So stabilized source of groundwater. Okay. So what they have to do? Like whatever water is extracted, it should be given back to the soil, right? For that, there are rainwater harvesting mechanisms, groundwater recharge mechanism, and management of household and wastewater for reuse. So one thing is you have to give back the water. Another thing is water we are extracting, we can reuse it. Okay. So this could be done what? This could ensure what? Sustainable source of water. Okay. So for all the infrastructure for that has to be created. Okay. So that is done through this Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Okay. So what are the important water conservation interventions which we are doing with regard? Yes, I already spoke about rainwater harvesting. So water conservation and rainwater harvesting. Okay. And also focuses on renovation of traditional and other water bodies. Like for example, step wells, Rani Ki Vav, right? It is a step well. Then there are Baolis in Rajasthan. Okay. Such traditional water bodies. Okay. If they are maintained, then there'll be water, there'll be less decline of water table. Okay. And water would be recharged. Okay. Then we are also focusing on reuse of water and recharge of structures. Then watershed development. So what is watershed? Is all the catchment area of the river and its tributaries. Okay, where the water sources to the river. So all the regions in the watershed should be developed. Okay, so that what, so for example, if we are planting trees in the watershed, that means we are retaining the water in the soil. Okay, then intensive afforestation. Afforestation is very much necessary because whenever trees is planted, it retains the water in the soil. That means it helps in seepage of water into the soil. Okay, so it reduces the runoff. That means the water, usually what happens if there is no trees, it will run off into the seas or oceans or water bodies nearby. Okay, instead of that, trees, if there is trees, they try to maintain the water or keep the water into the soil. It helps in seepage of water into the soil. Okay. Yes. Then it also ensures what irrigation efficiency. That means in order to sustainably use the water. Okay, through what initiatives such as micro irrigation practices or reducing the use of flood irrigation and knowledge is shared through Krishi Vigyan Kendras to ensure irrigation efficiency. Apart from that, plantation. Okay, I told you trees are one of the major things which can retain water in the soil. So absorption of stormwater and rainwater. That means it can increase the groundwater level. It can also prevent soil erosion and increase the growth of natural habitat. Okay, so plantation has to be promoted, especially urban local bodies and the Panchayati Raj all have to take up plantation along water bodies, public spaces, parks, etc., and also on the roadsides. Okay, we spoke about the tree city concept in the last class. So this is one thing which can ensure the groundwater table. Okay, recharge of the aquifers. Okay, so these are some of the initiatives under Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Okay, here so by any means we are trying to recharge the groundwater. Okay, and ensure a sustainable source of groundwater. Yeah. Okay. So that was Jal Shakti Abhiyan. It was under Ministry of Jal Shakti. Okay, and we are trying to ensure availability of water, sustainable source of or stabilize the source of water. Okay, and also groundwater conservation. Yeah. Okay, now we'll move on to the next topic, that is water convention. Remember, water convention is the convention on the protection and use of transboundary water courses and international lakes. So whenever there is a water body between two countries, or else a lake between two countries, which shares its border in two countries. So this water convention is with regard to such water bodies. Yeah. So yes, recently, water convention, it is a legal instrument and intergovernmental platform. Okay, it was actually adopted in 1992 in Helsinki. Okay, yes, it was actually it was for the European region. Okay, and it was later expanded to other countries. I told you it is a regional instrument, especially for region in Europe, in and around Europe. Okay, then it was expanded to other UN members in 2016. Okay, and yes, 2022 marks 30th anniversary of UN Water Convention. That is, it is an initiative of United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Okay, this Water Convention is UNECE's initiative, and this year marks its 30th anniversary. Okay, then you must also remember, yes, what are the major aims? So I already told water convention, it is for sustainable use of transboundary water sources. Okay, that means water courses and international lakes, which are across borders. In order to conserve this water convention is there. And earlier it was for European regions. And through this, it is trying to achieve the SDG 6 goal. That is water, sanitation, and hygiene. Wash. You must know one thing. You must learn about this all the SDG goals, because I think it was asked for UPSC mains about wash, water, sanitation, and hygiene was asked in UPSC mains. So if you don't know SDG 6, it is a part of SDG 6 goal, and you might lose maybe half a mark or 1 mark. Okay, so it is always nice. I mean, it is always good to remember the SDG goals. Okay, so yes, a part of this SDG 6 goal says that calls for what integrated water resource management at all levels by 2030, including transboundary cooperation. So through this water convention, we are trying to achieve this SDG 6 goal, to meet this SDG 6 goal. Okay. Clear? So remember, it is an initiative of what? United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Okay, UN Water, UN EC, and this in turn is a regional commission for what? Of UN ECOSOC. Okay, so basically, United Nations Economic and Social Council subunit is 5 regional commission. It's one of the 5 regional commission of UN ECOSOC, and it was launched in 1947. Okay, so United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. This is one of the subunits or subcommissions of United Nations Economic and Social Council. That is UN ECOSOC. Okay, and this is actually trying to promote what? Economic cooperation and integration among member countries. And also, remember, it has 56 member states, apart from those in the Europe. Okay, it's not just European countries which are part of UNECE. So whenever there's a question that UNECE has all the members in Europe only, then that statement would be wrong. Okay, so remember, UNECE has members from Europe and from Transasian and other continents. Okay, so remember, you needn't remember all the names. Remember, all the European countries are there. Apart from that, all the bordering ones like Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Israel, etc. are there. Russia is there. Then 2 from other continents, that is Canada and USA. Okay, North America. So these are the things you must remember. So it's hard to remember all the names. So remember, all the European countries will be there. Additionally, there'll be Canada and USA. Okay, and the neighbors of the Europe like Russia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, etc. Okay. So yes, that is UNEC. Yeah. Okay. So we saw yes, the water, this thing of UNEC. Okay, and this year marks the 30th anniversary. Okay. So it's basically for transboundary lakes, international water courses and international lakes. Okay, Water Convention is trying to conserve these through intergovernment cooperation. And it is an initiative of UNECE. Okay. Clear? Yes. So these were the important topics with regard to what groundwater and its pollution, and also other water conventions, etc. Okay, this is really important because in the wake of climate change, there is high heat waves happening, droughts are happening, right? So this is very important. Okay. Now we'll see another important topic, that is lead poisoning in India. Okay. So lead is one of the most poisonous thing which we can find. Okay. So yes, recently the central government report has found that India bears towards highest health and economic burden due to lead poisoning. So India is one country which has what? Highest lead poisoning. Okay. Then yes, this report was actually submitted by NITI Aayog and CSIR, a joint initiative of NITI Aayog and CSIR. And an interesting fact is, where is it found, lead poisoning? It's highest in states such as Bihar, UP. Remember this side, Bihar, UP. Then there is Central India, that's Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, they have highest average blood lead levels, BLL, lead levels. Okay, so remember there is on top northern states such as Bihar and UP, where this population is also very high. Then we have the central Indian states like Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, and Chhattisgarh, where there's high tribal population, and also then Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so these are the states which has highest level of lead contamination. Okay, so yes, apart from that, almost 23 states have what at least 5 mg per deciliters. Okay, of BLL, blood lead levels. Okay, according to standard gives. That means I'll tell you the level of poisoning that is on an average 5 mg per deciliter is found. But according to WHO, the standard is 0.5, 0.5. Okay, that means it's almost 10 times, which is found in India on an average. Okay, and it is mostly impacting what? Children. The greatest impact of lead poisoning is on children. Okay, and it causes what? Especially less than 2 years old. The average is 4.9. Okay, and due to this lead poisoning, we are losing 5% of India's GDP. Okay, mainly because it results in reduced productivity and reduced lifetime earnings. Okay, that means whenever people are subject to lead poisoning, their productivity is lower because they'll have fatigue, they'll have frequent diseases, etc. Okay, and yes, it is also called 230,000 premature deaths in India. Okay, that is how much this lead poisoning is impacting the people in India. Okay, clear? Yes. So yes, we'll see what lead poisoning is. Yes, lead is something which is which is absorbed by the human body. Okay, so whenever there's something with relation to lead is consumed or inhaled, or the presence of lead is found in our body, it is actually absorbed by the components, and it has impacts on all systems of our body, from brain to nervous system to blood. It impacts the kidneys, it decreases the bone and muscular strength. Everything has impact. Okay, it impacts the reproductive system, it causes fatigue, it also has a blue coloration of the gums, the teeth. Okay, everything is impacted from head to toe. All the human body parts would be impacted. Okay, so it has so much impact, lead exposure. Okay, and what are the major sources through which we would be what sources of lead poisoning in India? Where can we find lead? Yes, batteries. Okay, most of the batteries are made of lead acid. Okay, so this battery recycling causes what? If you're not properly, for example, like if what happens to all the batteries which we buy, it mostly ends up in landfills. When it ends up in landfills, what happens? It leaches. Okay, it starts to leak and it leaches into the nearest water body. That means water gets contaminated and the soil also gets contaminated. Right? Then lead mining. Okay, regions near the lead mining would obviously be polluted. Okay, then smelting plants and welding and soldering. So regions around these also would be what have high levels of lead contamination. Then automobile, that is many of the automobile parts has also components of lead. Okay, apart from that, it is used as adulterations of spices. Okay, and also cosmetics and traditional medicines. For example, there was an issue of lead in Maggi. Like a few years back, there was a big issue of lead in Maggi, and now they're saying there was a Supreme Court case, and there was so many issues going on. And recent studies have shown that lead is within the tolerable limit for Maggi, but I don't know how much it is reliable. But that is why people are saying not to eat Maggi. Okay, so that means it is used as an adulterative. Maggi is just one example, but most of the other goods, processed foods, also have lead in it. Okay, then there's cosmetics, even lipstick, from lipstick to all the cosmetics, there will be some component of lead, and also in traditional medicines. Okay, so these are the major sources of what lead contamination, lead poisoning. Okay, so there is battery recycling. From batteries, it leads to the environment. Then lead mining, smelting, welding and soldering, automobile party. So what UPSC will do is it gives a set of sources where you can find lead. For example, lipstick was there in one question paper, and films. Okay, so they'll give you options with so many things. Okay, so then they ask which of the following contains lead. Okay, so remember, lead could be found in any of these. Okay, mostly it will be all of the above, unless there is something which could be eliminated, like exceptional examples. Okay. So yes, that is lead. And remember, lead is found not naturally in the on the Earth's surface. Okay, it's actually not made by human beings. It's actually natural occurring method, and we use it for many other purposes. And yes, even in household paint, this lead is found. Okay, and recently regulations has been passed. In 2016, there was a regulation passed by MOFCC on lead contents in household and decorative paints. So they have asked to what prohibit the manufacture, trade, and import of these paints which has lead in excess of 90 ppm. Okay, if the lead concentration is more than 90 ppm, then you're not supposed to manufacture, trade, or import or export such paints. Okay, so this is one regulation passed by the government. Okay, so we saw the major impacts of lead, how much it is there, it is contaminating the blood levels, that is blood lead levels. We saw it is 5 mg per deciliter, and the actual required amount is only 0.5. Okay, it's almost 10 times higher. Okay, and it mostly impacts children, and from head to toe, like every body part has some impact. Okay, and yes, it can lead to fatigue and what nausea and so many other diseases. And also it reduces what GDP. Okay, it has a huge impact on GDP. And we also saw the lead sources where it can be found, like batteries can also be found where the lead mining areas, and also in what daily consumption items such as like processed food, Maggie, or it is used as an adulterative. Okay, adulterate, and then it's also used what as cosmetics. Okay, and also this naturally occurring, and also there is regulations for restricting the use of paint. In paint also it's found. Okay, household paints. Okay. Now we'll move on to water contaminants and diseases. So we saw like lead is one of the biggest contaminants. So there are so many other contaminants which in water, which is usually found in water, and we'll see what are the diseases it causes. Okay, just remember this contaminant and the diseases. You can remember it as a table. Okay, so whenever UPSC comes, the question comes, you can eliminate the option if you know at least this. Okay, so we have what arsenic. Arsenic causes what black food diseases. So remember AB, arsenic, black food diseases. Then fluoride. Fluoride causes what fluorosis. Fluorosis means it impacts the dental teeth. It leads to disintegration of teeth, yellow coloring of the teeth, and also the bones. Okay, disintegration of the bones. That's fluorosis. So fluoride, fluorosis. That's easy. Then nitrate causes what blue baby syndrome. Okay, so arsenic, black food disease, nitrate, blue baby syndrome. Then there's cadmium pollution. Cadmium causes ittai disease or ouch kind of itching. Okay, cadmium causes ittai or ouch disease. Okay, then there is mercury contamination. It causes Minamata disease. So Minamata is a city in Japan which was impacted due to mercury pollution. So we'll see that in detail later on. But remember, mercury, Minamata disease. Okay, so these are some of the diseases. So arsenic, blackwood disease, fluoride causes fluorosis, and nitrate pollution causes what blue baby syndrome, cadmium, ittai or ouch, mercury, Minamata disease. Okay. Apart from that, lead, we already saw it cause anemia, headache, loss of muscle power, and bluish line around the gum. That is one interesting fact, bluish line around the gum. Okay. So that is lead. Then we have uranium. Uranium actually causes what? It's radioactive. So that means causes cancer. Okay. And it also impacts the kidney. Okay. Then manganese. Manganese actually impacts intellectual development. Okay, manganese contamination. So these are few of the contaminants and its impact, and then corresponding diseases it causes. Okay. So just remember these names. Okay. So whenever UPSC prelim question comes, you can eliminate the options. Okay. And you'll get the answer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next important topic, that is forever chemicals. Okay. This is actually there in use quite frequently nowadays. Forever chemicals. So what are these forever chemicals? Forever means last forever. Okay. These are man-made chemicals which will last in the environment forever. It means it is very slow disintegration rate. That is forever chemicals. So yes, there are certain certain compounds such as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Remember this name, per and polyfluoro. Perfluoroalkyl or polyfluoroalkyl substances, which has remained in water, which remains in the atmosphere. Okay, and recently scientists have found the presence of these in rainwater from many places across the globe. Okay, these forever chemicals have been recently reported in rainwater. Okay, and the name, as the name suggests, it is what forever, and it tends to stick around the atmosphere, rainwater, and soil for long duration of time. Okay, its rate of decomposition is very less. Okay, that means it sticks around where in atmosphere, rainwater, and soil. That is forever chemicals, and it is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Okay, and remember, it is also part of what the Stockholm Convention. So Stockholm Convention is with regard to persistent organic pollutants. That means it persists in the environment for a long time. So such pollutants, PFA, this perfluoro and polyfluoroalkyl substances are a part of the Stockholm Convention as well. Okay, so this they are also called forever chemicals, and this has been recently reported in the rainwater. Okay. Yes, and why are these perfluoro and polyfluoroalkyl substances used? Where it is used? Yes, they are actually man-made chemicals and used in non-stick cookware. Non-stick cookware, it is very frequently used in nowadays. Then water-repellent clothes and stain-resistant fabrics, cosmetics, firefighting foams. Okay, that means it is found everywhere where there is water surfaces or grease or oil. Okay, what are water repellent clothes? Yes, nowadays there are so many advertisement for dry fit, right? Whenever there is people are working out or sports athletes, everybody use all the clothes which are water repellent, right? Those who swim, they use water repellent clothes, right? So such clothes are made of what? This per and polyfluoroalkyl. And there is also study that almost 60% of children's clothes have this contaminant substance being used. Okay, so it's also remember this that it is found in every surface which are resistant to what? Grease, water, and oil. Okay, so all this, so non-stick cookware means if you pour oil in there, it is not going to stick there on the cookware. That's a non-stick, right? So this per and polyfluoroalkyl substances are used in this. That is, forever chemicals are used for these. Okay, and if we are not properly disposing it, it actually what migrates to soil, water, air, mainly when you produce it as well as when you use it. Okay, and as I've already told, it does not break down and it persists in the environment for a very long period of time. And what happens if it persists in the environment? When people drink the water, it accumulates, right? It repeats. When you are repeatedly exposed to this chemical, it accumulates in our body. It results in what? Both bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Okay. Okay. And both on just human beings, it also is consumed by animals. Okay. So it results in bioaccumulation and biomagnification. That is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances or forever chemicals. Okay. So recently scientists have found its presence where in? Yes, in the rainwater. Okay. So why is it called so? Yes, it forever exists in the atmosphere. It's hard for it to decompose or disintegrate. Okay. And yes, what is it used for? Mainly non-stick. Okay, wherever there's water, grease, or oil, in order to make a resistant surface, like repellent, water repellent clothes, stain resistant fabrics, etc. These are used for and polyfluoro substances. Okay, for and polyfluoroalkyl substances. So, what are the health impacts? So we told it is consumed by human beings. So we must know what are the major impacts it's causing. The major impact is it impacts the fertility. Okay, people exposed to this have lesser fertility. It has developmental impacts on children. Okay, it impacts the body hormones, cholesterol levels, and it has high risk of cancer. Okay, and apart from that, recent studies have also shown that repeated exposure to this PFAS or forever chemicals has resulted in what? In our difficulty for human beings to build antibodies. So suppose for a persistent long time you're wearing t-shirts or dress which have this water resistant or PFA in it. Okay, what will happen? Your body would not be able to create sufficient antibodies. Okay, this is actually a recent report and such research which has revealed it. Okay, so these are some of the impacts on human health. So remember, this has very huge impact on human health. This forever chemicals. Okay, yeah. So yes, that is forever chemical. Okay. So remember, it has been recently what? Yes. What are the it is per and polyfluoro alkyl substances, and which persist in the environment forever. Okay. And yes, it has both what health risk, so many health risks. And where is it found? It's found in non-stick wherever there is water repellent, grease, or oil repellent surfaces, it will be there. Okay. And it migrates to soil, water, and air, and it does not break ground. So that means it bioaccumulates or biomagnifies in both human beings and animals. Okay, and it poses a great health risk such as fertility, developmental impacts, body hormones. It impacts the interface body hormones, cholesterol levels, and it also causes cancer. And also long-term exposure makes it difficult for antibody creation in human bodies. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Now we'll move on to all the major international conventions against pollution. Okay. So we already spoke about what Stockholm Convention, right, on persisting organic pollution. So there are so many other conventions also, including the Stockholm Convention, which are trying to reduce the or impact of pollution. Okay, which are acting against the pollution. So we'll see all those initiatives. So first one is the Stockholm Convention. So we'll see the Stockholm Convention first. So Stockholm Convention is with regard to what? The persisting organic pollutants. Okay. So Stockholm Convention on persisting organic pollution. Remember, it is a legally binding agreement which was initiated in 2004, and India has also ratified it in 2006. Okay. Its basic aim is to eliminate or restrict the production and use of persisting organic pollutants. So remember, persistent organic pollutants. What are these persistent organic pollutants? Okay, they remain in the atmosphere for a very long time. Okay, they persist in the environment. Okay, they are chemical substances, mostly human-made substances, which stay in the atmosphere for a very long time or in the environment. Okay, and it also bioaccumulates through food web. Okay, and it also has a huge impact on human health and environment. Okay, such materials, such pollutants are being restricted under what? Stockholm Convention. So Stockholm Convention is with regard to what? Persistent organic pollutants. Remember, it is legally binding and India has already ratified it. Okay. Okay. Next one is the Basel Convention. Okay. What is Basel Convention for? It is for the control on transboundary movement of hazardous waste and their disposal. Okay. So yes, suppose there's a hazardous waste in a developed country such as USA and Canada, but they don't have place to dispose it. So what do? Yes, they take it in a ship and dump it where? In Africa. Okay. So that means it does not impact the environment of US or Canada, but impacts where? The environment of Africa. Right. So such things has to be banned. That means they don't know, they might not know that this has a huge impact. So they might accept it. But then what happens? It will impact the environment there. So such movement of hazardous waste are restricted under what? The Basel Convention. Okay. Its main goal is what? To prevent the transfer of hazardous waste from the developed countries to the least developed countries. Okay. So basically, this Basel Convention is an international treaty which tries to reduce the movement of hazardous waste between nations, and it was launched in 1992, and India has also signed the Basel Convention. Okay. But one important fact is, it is just for hazardous waste. It does not take into account what? The radioactive waste. Okay. So radioactive waste is not part of Basel Convention. So remember, Basel Convention is for transboundary movement of what? Hazardous waste. That is, it actually prevent the transfer of hazardous waste from developed to least developed countries. Okay, and it does not include what? Radioactive waste. Okay, so we have Stockholm Convention on persisting organic pollution and Basel Convention for what? For in order to reduce the movement of hazardous waste across borders. Okay, both are what? Signed by India. Now we have the Rotterdam Convention. So yes, we know, yes, there are so many hazardous chemicals which we have to transport. Yes, we cannot totally ban what the transportation of hazardous chemicals. For example, uranium. We need uranium for what? Nuclear energy, right? So we cannot completely ban what? The movement of hazardous chemicals, right? So this Rotterdam Convention calls for what? Prior informed consent procedure for certain hazardous chemicals and pesticides in international trade. Okay, so whenever we're trading this, there should be prior informed consent. So what is this prior informed consent? Okay, so if I am a country which I have uranium or some other hazardous chemicals, and I'm selling it to another country, so I must tell them that this can pose so and so threat to your country. Okay, so whoever buys it should be aware of the impacts it can cause. Okay, they should be informed of it. That is prior informed content. And they also proper labeling should be used. Okay, from all the people who handles and purchase it, they should be given information regarding the impacts it can cause. Okay, and another thing is that the ones who received it, okay, the ones who have signed this convention, they can actually decide whether they have to allow or ban such chemicals in their country. Okay, so it is not necessary that everybody should ban it. So it is the freedom of the signatory nations whether they can allow it or ban it. Okay, so it's creating a shared responsibility with regard to transportation of hazardous chemicals. Okay, and it is a legally binding instrument, and India has given us assent. Okay, so that is Rotterdam Convention on prior informed consent for procedure for certain hazardous chemicals. That means in order to move the hazardous chemicals and pesticides across border, you are giving prior informed consent under what? Rotterdam Convention. Clear? Okay, so don't confuse it with the Basel Convention. Basel Convention is what? Transferring of hazardous waste from where developed to developing countries, and this is with regard to what? Giving prior informed consent when you're transferring what? Hazardous chemicals across the borders. Okay. Now we have the Minamata Convention. We saw it earlier. Minamata is with regard to mercury. So whenever there is mercury pollution, it results in Minamata disease. So this Minamata Convention on mercury is trying to protect human health and environment from the impacts of what? Mercury and mercury compounds that whenever it pollutes the environment. Okay. So it's basically the city in Minamata in Japan, which was actually impacted due to mercury. A huge number of people died. It was a big catastrophe. Okay, a place in Minamata, it was actually the water there was polluted with mercury. Okay, and this the whole region had lot of casualties. Okay, and after that, this Minamata Convention was adopted, and India was also party to this convention. Okay, so it's basically to protect human beings and environment from the impacts of what? Mercury and mercury-related compounds. Okay, next we have the Bamako Convention. So earlier I told the Basel Convention, it does not take into what account radioactive waste, right? So in order to prevent this transboundary movement or import to Africa, I told you most of the waste are being taken where? To Africa, right? Because it has the most number of least developed countries. So in order to prevent the entry or in order to ban such hazardous and radioactive waste into Africa, Bamako Convention was adopted. Okay, so it is a convention of African nations, and it bans the importation into Africa and the control of transboundary movement and management of hazardous and radioactive waste. So Bamako Convention takes into account both hazardous and radioactive waste. Okay. So yes, that is Bamako. So I mean, only African countries are part of Bamako Convention. Okay. So all of them came together in order to restrict or ban the import of hazardous and radioactive waste. Clear? So these are the international treaties which are important and you must know about it. So we have Stockholm Convention with regard to persistent organic pollutants. Yes. Then we have what? The Basel Convention. Basel Convention for what? In order to ban the transboundary movement of hazardous waste and pesticides. Okay. Hazardous waste that is transferred from developed countries to developing nations. Then we have the Rotterdam Convention for prior informed consent with regard to what? Hazardous chemicals and movement of hazardous chemicals and pesticides. Then we know the Convention on Mercury and Bamako Convention. Clear? Okay. The Bamako Convention tries to ban import of what? Hazardous and radioactive waste into Africa. Okay. So these are the important conventions which you must remember. Okay. Yes. Now we'll see two pesticides, that is iprodion and terbifos. This was in news actually. Okay. So yes, these are two new hazardous pesticides which has been added to prior informed consent procedure under Rotterdam Convention. So we spoke about what? The prior informed consent in Rotterdam. So this iprodion and terbifos has been added to that. Okay, Rotterdam has been made part of this Rotterdam Convention. Okay, so what are these? This iprodion is actually a fungicide. Okay, it is used in vines, fruits, and trees. That is creepers, etc., vegetables, etc. But it also causes what? Cancer, and it is toxic for reproduction. So it causes both fertility issues and also it's carcinogenic. Okay, causes cancer. So iprodion is a fungicide. Then we have terbifos. It is a soil insecticide. Okay, so it is used in sorghum, maize, beet, and potatoes. And whenever it is a soil insecticide, what will happen? Yes, whenever we use water or whenever there is rain, it will leach out into the nearest aquatic water bodies, right? So it impacts the aquatic organisms there. Okay, so that is terbifos. So we have iprodion, which is a fungicide, and terbifos, which is a soil insecticide, and has been recently added to where? Yes, Rotterdam Convention on prior informed consent. Okay. It has become a part of this Rotterdam Convention. Okay. And in India, in 2005, Anupam Verma Committee permitted the use of these chemicals. Okay. And also remember, India is one among the largest exporter of terbifos. Okay. Okay, India is one of the largest. So if UPSC is asking a question with regard to this, they might ask either match the following, or you'll get a question with regard to whether it's a fungicide or a soil insecticide, etc. Okay, they'll give these names, so you will not be able to understand. Like, remember it quickly: iprodion and terbifos. So these are actually chemicals used as a pesticide, insecticide, or fungicide, etc. Okay. So they might give you options. It is a pesticide, it is a plastic, or something like that. So you must remember it is a pesticide. Okay. So yes, so that is iprodion and terbifos. Okay. Remember, it is added to where? Recently, it was added to yes, Rotterdam Convention via informed consent thing. Okay. Next, we have the Jalduda. Jalduda. Okay. So yes, Jalduda. What will be Jalduda? Yes, they're trying just actually something related to water. Jaldud. Okay. So the Ministry of Rural Development and Panchayat Raj has recently launched what? Jaldud app and Jaldud app e-brochure. it basically tries to capture the groundwater level. Okay, so trying to what capture the groundwater level. Okay, and how do they do it? So in every village, they select 2 to 3 wells. Okay, and they study the groundwater level or capture the groundwater level. Okay, in these 2 to 3 wells. Okay, so in every village, they select 2 to 3 wells and then they try to capture the groundwater level. Okay, and this app actually works both in online and offline mode. So, like villages, they might not have much connectivity. Okay, although we are successful in digital India mission, there are so many villages which still does not have proper connectivity. I mean, there'll be network issues or something like that. So this app actually works both in online and offline. So whenever you are in an offline mode, you take the data from this well. If you get captured the data, the app actually captures the data when it is offline. And whenever this phone reaches the connectivity area, the data will be uploaded to the central server. Okay. So that is how you measure the groundwater level in every district or every village in the country. Okay. And this data would be added where integrated to the National Water Informatics Center. Okay. So into a national database, this water would be entered regularly. Okay. So through this Jaldoot app, it is an initiative by Ministry of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj. Okay. And they are trying to capture the groundwater level. So for that, they are choosing 2 to 3 wells in every village. And this Jaldoot app tries to capture the water level. Okay. And whenever it captures the water level, this can be done in both online and offline mode. And whenever it is in offline mode, what will happen? When the mobile phone actually captures the water in the offline mode. And whenever the mobile phone reaches the area of connectivity, it uploads the data into the central server. Okay, when it's on and it will directly upload to the central server. And this data would be integrated to where the National Water Informatics Center. Okay, to the database there. Yeah. So that is how Jaldoot app is working. And why is it significant? So suppose if we know the water table, I told you, right? The water table increases, decreases. Okay. So whenever we know the water table or water levels, okay, we can sustainably manage the water there. Okay. You can change the type of agriculture, or you can develop. You can ensure certain mechanism in order to recharge the wells. Okay. Or maybe you can plan how the water should be utilized. Okay. You can promote reusing of water. So such things. So the app will actually ensure what aquifer mapping. It will ensure aquifer mapping, that is observe water tables across the country, and it could be used for what Gram Panchayat development and an MGA and RGA plans. Okay, and also you must remember this. There are Gram Rozgar Sahayak who tries to measure the water level, and they can measure it twice every year. That is pre-monsoon and post-monsoon. Okay, this using this Jaldoot app, Gram Rozgar Sahayak, people will try to measure it pre-monsoon and post-monsoon. So it also creates employment. Okay. So that is Jaldoot app. Okay. Okay. So yes, it is launched by who? Ministry of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj. Tries to measure the water levels in wells. Okay, Jaldoot app. Okay, and Gram Rozgar Sahayak are the people who uses this both twice a year. It is measured pre-monsoon and post-monsoon. Okay, that means they can know the water table level, and accordingly they can plan for what the development of the Gram Panchayat. Okay, so that is Jaldoot app. Okay, now we have the UNCCD. So we spoke about UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We spoke about Convention on Biodiversity, UNCBD, and the last one is UNCCD. UNCCD means United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Okay, so these three were the outcomes of what? The Rio Earth Summit, right? Spoke about the Rio Earth Summit, and these were the three bodies which are an outcome of the Rio Earth Summit. And the latest COP of UNCCD is COP 15. Okay, so first we'll see about UNCCD. I told you it is one of the outcomes of Rio Earth Summit, and it was established in 1994. And it is one of the sole legally binding international agreement with regard to what links environment to sustainable land management. Okay. So basically, they're trying to link what land degradation, land management, sustainable use of land toward to recover the environment. Okay. And the focus areas, they know that the problem is arid, semi-arid, dry subhumid areas, and which are commonly known as drylands. And that is where the world's most vulnerable ecosystems and people reside. Right? For example, sub-Saharan Africa. So regions where there is high drought or desertified areas, that is where world's most vulnerable ecosystems and people are residing. Okay, so that is their focus. That is UNCCD. Now we'll see COP 15 of UNCCD. So what is COP 15 of UNCCD? Yes, it was held in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. It is a country in Africa. Okay, so it was held there. Okay, so the theme was land, life, legacy from scarcity to prosperity. Okay, so they were calling for an action plan to ensure land, the lifeline of this planet, to continue what benefit present and future generations. So whenever something is used, you must remember what it should not be just for us. It should also be conserved for future generations. Right. So that was what this was calling land, life, legacy. So whenever we're doing something, we must leave a legacy. Okay. So from scarcity to prosperity. So we must actually conserve the things now, and we must combat desertification so that in future there'll be prosperity. That is what the theme is. Okay. So this also manages water to drive progress in future sustainable management of lands, and will explore the links between land and other sustainable issues. Okay. So they are asking for sustainable management of lands. Okay. Yes. Now, they are also trying to chalk out a plan to restore 1 billion hectares of degraded land by 2030. Okay. So, the earliest COP has called, of UNCCD has called for a thing called land degradation neutrality. That means we are trying to restore or neutralize all the degraded lands. That means we are going to restore or reduce the impact of land desertification and land degradation. Okay. So, this relation COP calls for what? Restoring at least 1 billion hectares of land by 2030. And already 120 countries have been pledged for land degradation neutrality, which was actually initiated in the earlier COP. Okay, last time COP it was land degradation neutrality, and the recent one has called for what? A plan for restoring at least 1 billion hectares of degraded land by 2030. Okay, so even India has ratified the land degradation neutrality agreement, and we are pledged to at least restore 26 million hectares of land by 2030. Okay, so India has called for at least restoring the 26 million hectares of degraded land by 2030. Okay, so yes, that is the latest COP of UNCCD. And what were the major outcomes? Yes, there was an Abidjan call. Okay, Abidjan call. Why was it there? It was issued by the head of states and government to boost long-term environmental sustainability. Okay, so they understood that land degradation is important for long-term environmental sustainability, and the government has called for it. Abidjan call. Then there is also Abidjan declaration. Okay, so whenever there is land degradation, the greatest people impacted are the women and the children. So this has also called for what? Achieving gender equality for successful land restoration. So that means whenever we are restoring the land, the most benefited people will be the women. So they are calling for gender equality. Okay. And yes, the COP 15 has also called for what? Land, life, legacy declaration, which responds to what UNCCD's global land outlook. So remember, global land outlook is published by who? UNCCD. Okay. Then also there is a report, Drought in Numbers 2022 report, which also identifies that more than 2.3 billion people faces water stress. Okay. So that is the latest COP. Okay. And also it calls for what? Business for Land Initiative. Why Business for Land Initiative? Yes, the companies who are participating should also commit for what? Land degradation neutrality. That is, whenever there is an initiative, whenever they're taking up supply chain initiatives, and also when they're carrying out a CSR, that is corporate social responsibility activities, they must ensure what? Land degradation neutrality. So Business for Land Initiative was also called in UNCCD's latest COP. Apart from that, there is Sahel Sourcing Challenge. So we saw the Sahel region in the last sessions, right? So there is a Great Green Wall initiative in the Sahel region. That is in just below the Sahara Desert in northern Africa. We have the Sahel region, and there is a Great Green Wall being created. And the Sahel Sourcing Challenge calls to use technology to monitor programs, create jobs, and commercialize the produce of the people there. Okay, so they're trying to what? Monitor the progress of this Great Green Wall through what's using technology. Okay, so Sahel Sourcing Challenge. So these were the major things which has come about under what? The latest COP. Okay, so they have called for Sahel Sourcing Region, Business for Land Initiative. Then they have called, Abjidan calls that, Abjidan declared for gender equality. So Land Life Legacy Declaration is there. Then there is also Drought in Numbers Report 2022. Okay. It's held in where? Cote d'Ivoire in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire in Africa. Okay. So that is what UNCCD's latest COP 50. Okay. Clear? Okay. So now we'll see one of the reports by UN, that is Drought and Numbers Report 2022. Okay. This is a report by the United Nations. Okay. So it is a report published by UNCCD. It was reported published in 15th COP of UNCCD, and the report assessment and analysis the droughts and the impact over 122 years. That is coming 122 years. How would be the drought impact for 196 countries, all the UN member nations? Okay, so they've studied the drought impact for so much. Okay, and it also has highlighted India's vulnerability. So already in the earlier reports, we saw how much vulnerable India is toward groundwater extraction and extra, and thereby the impact on drought. And this also highlights what? The impact on India. So we'll see what are the major impacts on India. So according to this report, India is one of the severely drought impacted countries, and nearly 2/3 of the country has suffered what? Drought in the last 2 years, like from the time span of 2020 to 2022. India has nearly 2/3 of India has faced what? Drought. Okay, and also there is a decline in GDP 2 to 5% in the last 2 decades. That is 1998 to 2017. If you're seeing, there has been what? Decline in GDP just because of what? There are droughts. Okay, and also if you're comparing the regions which are impacted, okay, which are impacted due to drought, that is regions vulnerable to drought, it could be compared to what? The sub-Saharan Africa. So India's drought-prone regions could be compared to sub-Saharan Africa. That means India is facing so much drought. Okay. And another thing is, India has also featured in this global vulnerability, drought vulnerability index, which is also published by this report. It's also part of this report. So India is one of the greatest one of the countries which has greatest impact due to drought. Okay, and last 2 years, almost 2/3 of the country faced drought. It has also impacted the GDP. That is at least 2 to 5% of the GDP has declined. Okay, then also what? It can be compared to sub-Saharan Africa, and the global vulnerability index is also part of this report, and India is there in that also. Okay, and if you're taking the global scenario in the world, across the world also, there has been economic growth approximately of $124 billion in the last 2 decades. Okay, and also there has been increase in number and duration of droughts by at least 29% since 2000. Okay, and you must also remember there is a new generation of population, that is the coming generation, which is growing up in a water scarce countries. Okay, all through their lifetime, they'll be living in a water scarce situation. And climate change alone causes what impact? It will impact 129 countries with drought. Okay, with there has been an increase in drought exposure just because of climate change. Okay, and one of the most important factors, the people who will be most affected are women and girls. You know why? Because women and girl child or children are usually people who go and collect water. Like they take water in the pots and come all to home, right? So their time spent for collecting water, okay, and their time, the calories spent for fetching water will be highest. Up to 40% of the calorie intake are spent just for collecting waters. Okay, so they have to walk long distances just to get a pot of water. So women and children would be mostly impacted due to this drought. That is what this report says. Okay, so remember it is a report by UNCCD, right? And how India and the world would be impacted due to the exposure to drought. Okay. Okay. Now we'll see. I know this is a bit dry topic. It is okay, but you have to mug up these facts. Only then, just remember, at least if you remember this, you will have an option to eliminate the statements for prelims. So it will be much more easier. Okay. So like these only, just remember these few points. Okay. At least these points for prelims. Okay. So next is the Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2022. Okay, so we saw all the drought-like conditions and all the pollutants and everything. Now we'll see two major pollutants. That is, one is plastic and e-waste. First, we'll see the Plastic Waste Management Rules. Okay, so it has been recently amended. This is mainly important because of the recent fire in Cochin. Okay, there has been fire in Cochin, and also the e-waste is also important. So the high amount of air pollution has caused. Okay, so this amendment act will be very important. So in 2022, the Union Environment Minister notified the Plastic Waste Amendment Rules, Management Amendment Rules. What are the major highlights? It has focused on two things. One is prohibition of identified single-use plastic items, and which have low utility and high littering potential, and also it has high focus on what? Extended producer responsibility. Okay, so what are the single-use plastics? Yes, all those use and throw plastics, right? You just buy it like straw or plastic cover, just buy it, throw it out to the atmosphere, to the environment. Okay, so such plastics are called single-use. You're not going to reuse it. Okay, plastic with low microns. Okay, they are actually banned. Okay, then we have the concept of extended producer responsibility. So what is this extended producer responsibility? Yes, whoever produce a particular thing, that is maybe plastic. If I'm talking about plastic, the person who produces plastic has the responsibility until the end use. So until that plastic is what at the end of the life of the plastic, that the producer has the responsibility. That is extended producer responsibility. Okay, so it is the responsibility of the producer. So what should they do? They should environmentally sound they should manage the plastic. Okay, until its end life. They might either recycle or reuse or whatever it is. They are responsible for it. That is extended producer responsibility. And this concept was introduced in the Plastic Management Rules 2016. And remember, this Plastic Management Rules, Waste Management Rules are under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Okay. So latest amendment rules are majorly focusing on this extended producer responsibility. And remember, it was not introduced in this act. It was introduced in the earlier act, earlier rules itself. And this rules come under what? Environmental Protection Act. Okay. Okay. Now, this rules has also classified into plastics into 4 categories. The first one is the rigid plastic, the first category. Okay. So this could be recycled. So they are rigid plastic. Second one is a flexible plastic, like single layer or multi-layer plastics, and also carry bags, plastics, sachets, small sachets, shampoo sachets, and all is there. No? So such sachets and pouches, all these come under category 2. Now there's a third category which is called multi-layer plastics. What is multi-layer plastics? Yes, You can see in some packings, right? There'll be thick layer of plastic. There is 2 layers, 1 layer of plastic, 1 layer of silver foil, like that. There'll be layers. So that are multi-layered plastics. Okay, usually used in what packing processed foods, etc. And there are also the fourth category, that is plastic sheets or packaging, which are used by composite plastics. I mean, they are produced by using composite plastics. That is category 4. So there are 4 categories under the latest rules. That is category 1, 2, 3, 4. First one is rigid plastic. Second one is single layer or flexible plastics. The third one is multi-layer plastics, and the fourth one is those made of composite plastics. Okay, so that is classification of plastics under these rules. Then we have what the policy for recycling and reuse. This latest rules has what mandated recycling and reuse of a certain percentage of plastics produced by manufacturers and importers. So they have to use a certain percentage of plastics they produce by recycling and reusing. Okay, and also they'll be given what recycling certificates, and they have to obtain it from registered recyclers, along with the details of how much quantity they have what sent for end of life disposal. They should achieve, all the companies which produce it must what have a certificate. Okay, then there is also what a centralized online portal, just like filing ITR. These owners should file what how much they have about plastic they have reused, recycled, etc. All the waste they have processed. Okay, by March 31 every year. Okay, and the online portal is under the CPCB. So there is a centralized online portal. Then there is a single, and this all the data which they get would be added to a single data repository, and there'll be guidelines for EPR. Okay, and with regard to EPR, if any company is not achieving the target, so they have to mandatorily recycle the plastic and ensure extended producer responsibility. And if any company is not achieving the target, they have to provide environmental compensation. Okay, so on the basis of polluter pays principle, that is, if I am polluting, I am responsible for it and I must pay for it. So on that principle, what they will be fined for not achieving the extended producer responsibility targets. Okay, and whatever fund this would be received through this environmental conservation compensation, it will be used for what? For collection, recycling, and end of life responsible disposal of uncollected plastic. So whichever plastic which remains uncollected, this fund would be what used for that disposal or recycling of that. Okay, and they have also called for setting up a committee for effective implementation of EPR. Okay, so that is what plastic management rules, latest plastic management rules. Here, so more focus is given on what EPR, extended producer responsibility. Okay, clear? Okay, now we'll move on to the next topic, that is project replan. Okay, so why is this there, project replan? So the concept is reduce plastic in nature. Okay, project replan. It is an initiative by KVIC, that is Khadi and Village Industries Commission, KVIC, and it aims to reduce consumption of plastic bags by providing an alternative. Project replan, reduce plastic in nature. Okay, they're trying to create plastic mixed handmade paper bags. Okay, so that they can achieve the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan targets. They can commit to that, and it is reduce plastic in nature. Remember, replan, reduce plastic in nature by KVIC, Khadi Village and Industrial Corporation Commission. Sorry, and they try to their aim is to reduce the plastic consumption of plastic bags and provide alternatives such as plastic mixed with handmade paper bags. So how are they going to mix plastic with paper bags? So whatever plastic waste is there, they take it up, collect it, clean it, chop it, and beat it and then soften it. Okay, so they're trying to mix the plastic along with paper or cotton fiber bags. Okay, so this processed plastic is then mixed with what processed and treated plastic is mixed with cotton fiber rags in the proportion 20 is to 80. That means only 20% of plastic is used, and most of the cotton or paper part is used. Okay, and this has also found to have good strength and durability. Okay, so that is how they're going to make paper bags, which is an alternative for plastic bags. Okay, so that is Project Replan. And also there is one more thing you must remember. KVIC has also recently launched terracotta grinder in Varanasi. Okay, terracotta grinder. So what does this terracotta grinder do? Yes, they grind all the terracotta means all the mud pots or mud whatever they made, all the things made of mud. Just terracotta. So we know that there are terracotta glasses, right, which we use for chai. Okay, that is usually disposed of, right? So such disposed cups or disposed terracotta items could be recycled and you reuse again. Broken pottery items. Okay. So they're trying to grind this and reuse in pottery making. So recently, this KVIC has launched terracotta grinder in Varanasi. Okay, Sevapuri in Varanasi. Okay. So that is about Project Replan and KVIC terracotta grinder. Okay. So they're trying to reduce plastic in nature. Okay. Now we have the e-waste management rules. So similar to plastic management, waste management rules only. But yes, the recent amendment has would come into force this April 2023. I mean, it has already come into force. Okay. So what are the major changes? Yes, it has restricted the use of hazardous substances such as lead, mercury, and cadmium in electrical and electronic equipment. So there has been greater restrictions in lead, mercury, and cadmium. Apart from that, it has also increased the range of electronic goods. That is has covered laptops, mobiles, etc. Number of items coming under e-waste has increased. Okay, and yes, in the latest amendment, the targets. Okay, so targets for e-waste recycling by producers. So in this also there is extended producer responsibility. So producer of electronic goods have to ensure at least 60% of their e-waste is collected and recycled by 2023. Okay, so so whenever producer produces, at least 60% of it has to be collected and recycled by 2023, and also this target would be increased. Like in 2024, it will increase to 70%, and by 2025, at least 80%. Okay, this is the new target. So in 2023, 60%, 70% 2024, 80% 2025. Okay, it has to be collected and recycled. Okay, and whatever they're doing, they have to report it in an online portal. Okay, and they would also have to obtain extended producer responsibility certificate. So suppose if I'm a company, I'm not able to recycle it, I can offset my responsibility to some other company which are recycling. So that will be given an extended producer responsibility certificate. Okay, if I'm giving it to a third party. Okay, then also there is environmental compensation similar to plastic waste management rules. Environmental compensation on the lines of polluter pay principle. If I'm not able to meet the target. Okay, this target. Okay, so that is the major objectives. Then also we can see the role of state governments and the manufacturers, etc. The first is the state government. So state government has to earmark industrial spaces for e-waste dismantling and recycling facilities. Okay, so government has to provide spaces for e-waste dismantling and recycling. They have to develop skill. There should be industrial skill development for recycling, and also they must ensure the safety of workers in health, and they should help and protect the health and ensure safety of the workers who are trying to recycle the e-waste. Okay. Apart from that, the role of manufacturers, they have to make the end product recyclable. Two objectives for manufacturers. One is whatever they're producing, the end product, it should be recyclable. Another thing is they must make it compatible. For example, if I'm producing a laptop and another company is producing a laptop, both these should be compatible so that my components could be used by them or could be recycled and used by them. Okay, So there should be compatible between what electronic equipments or electronic components, whatever they make. Okay, so that is the role of manufacturers. So they must make the end product recyclable, and also they must make it products compatible. Okay. So and yes, state government, we already spoke. They must mark what industry, they must give industrial spaces for recycling of e-waste, and also skill development should be there, and also they must provide protection to health and safety of, ensure safety of workers engaged in recycling facilities. Okay. Then yes, what is the role of CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board? Okay, they must go and collect randomly some electrical and electronic equipments and check that if the compliance is met. Okay, they must do random sampling of electrical and electronic equipments and ensure that whatever standards are is done, or whatever the guidelines is set, it meets this. There is compliance. Okay. So yes, that is e-waste management rules. So even in e-waste management rules, there is more focus on what there is more accountability on state government, manufacturers, as well as CPCB. Okay, and also there is focus on what charges for recycling. That is 60% by 2023, 70% by 2024, and 80% by 2025. Okay. So yes, that is e-waste management rules. Now we go to the last topic. There is National Bioenergy Program. Okay. So what is this National Bioenergy Program? Yes, the name suggested bioenergy. Okay. Recently, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy held a seminar on National Bioenergy Program in New Delhi, and it was in partnership with UNIDO and Global Environment Facility. And they have launched what Bio-Urja and Biogas portal. Okay. So what is this Bio-Urja portal? Bio-Urja means energy from biosources. Okay. Urja, energy. Okay. This has been developed a single window system, platform, in order to ensure there is central financial assistance. Okay, so people who need central financial assistance with regard to what Bio-Urja, whatever mechanisms are there, they can register and submit online application in Bio-Urja portal, and it will ensure assistance to what waste to energy projects, biomass briquette pellet manufacturing plants, and also biomass based cogeneration projects. So all the Bio-Urja projects. So whenever you need a financial assistance for this Bio-Urja projects, this portal could be used to apply and register and submit online applications. Okay, so Bio-Urja portal is there. Now there's Biogas portal for all the initiatives related to what biogas related information. So you must know the difference. Bioenergy means it's an online platform for what submission of applications with regard to what central financial assistance or anything related to bioenergy. Okay, and biogas is with regard to gives all the information regarding to biogas. Okay, and the initiatives by the government, etc. Okay, so that is biogas. Then we have the National Bioenergy Program. Okay, so what is this National Bioenergy Program? Yes, this was a program launched by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. It is extended in 2022, and the latest target is it has continued for a period of 2022, 21-22 to 2025-26. So that means the next 5 years. These 5 years. Okay, so that is National Bioenergy Program, and it will be implemented in 2 phases. And the first phase comprises of 3 schemes. Okay, there is a waste to energy program, there is a biomass program, and there is a biogas program. Okay, so 3 programs comes under National Bioenergy Programs: waste to energy program, biomass program, and biogas program. Okay. So now, what is this waste to energy program? Yes, it is a program of energy from urban, industrial, and agricultural waste residues. Okay, so whenever we get a waste, okay, bio waste, okay, from industrial sources or waste from households, agricultural waste residues, etc., it can be what given to where biogas plants, bio-CNG plants, and power plants, and converted into what energy. Okay, so waste to energy program. You're converting all the waste to energy sources. Okay, so yeah, the implementing agency is IREDA, Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency. So for waste to energy program, the implementing agency is IREDA. And remember, it is a part of National Bioenergy Program. Okay, then we have the biomass program. Okay, so this scheme actually supports the manufacturing of briquettes and pellets and promotion of biomass-based power generation for use in power generation projects. Okay, so they're trying to promote the use of biomass for power generation. And there is biogas program. It helps in installation of small biogas plants in family and medium-sized plants in rural areas. That is biogas program. Okay, so these three are part of what National Bioenergy Program. We have waste to energy program, biomass program, and biogas program. So yes, you might be confused with the biomass, biogas, etc. So what is the difference between biomass and biogas? Yes, we'll see that. Okay, biomass means it is the material derived from living organisms. Okay, and biogas is actually the gas produced from organic matter. For example, methane is produced from organic matter, right? So such gas produces biogas, and mass is that solid thing. Okay, so biomass means it's in solid state, and biogas is in gaseous state. Okay, and for biomass, the major sources are living organisms, that is all the dead organisms, etc. Okay, and biogas it is obtained from organic matter. But when it decomposes, it produces what gas? So that is collected as biogas. Okay, and yes, biomass is mainly what biological materials, and biogas is what it contains mainly methane and carbon dioxide. Okay, so these are the difference between biomass and biogas. So don't get confused with the both. Biomass it is in solid form, and the gaseous thing, that is whatever gas is produced, and that is called what? Biogas. Okay, both are different. Okay, and both could be used for what? For creation of energy. Clear? Okay, so that is what the major topics which we have covered today. Okay, so we'll just have an overview with regard to this. Okay. Okay. So we started off with what? Energy Conservation Act, Amendment Act. Yes, the recent changes which it has incorporated, especially with regard to what carbon credit trading scheme as well as energy conservation and sustainable building code. Right. So we spoke about the mandatory use of non-fossil fuels energy and about the designated consumers and the targets they have to meet, a minimum share of energy from non-fossil fuel base. Right. And we spoke about carbon trading mechanism and also carbon credit certificates which will be issued by the central government. Okay. And how the carbon credit mechanisms works. Right. Then the major difference between 2001 and the latest act, the provision for energy conservation code for buildings, it is expanded to what official and residential buildings. Then it has also included what vehicles and vessels. Okay. Then also the ambit, that is composition of the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. The governing council's members has increased to 31 and between 31 and 37. Okay. Then we spoke about the dynamic groundwater resource assessment report. Okay, which is what an assessment report by the central government and the states under Ministry of Jal Shakti, and how much the groundwater is extracted and the impacts. The regions where there is highest extraction is Northwest India, that is states such as Punjab, Haryana, and Rajasthan, and all the impacts due to extraction of groundwater. Then we spoke about the one water approach under the United Nations. Okay, where every type of water has some value. Okay, and we saw all the objectives of that as well. Then we spoke about the United Nations Water Summits on groundwater. Okay, and the groundwater making the invisible visible campaign. That means all the impacts it has on, such as poverty, food insecurity, water insecurity, etc. Okay. And the initiatives by the government such as Atal Bhujal Yojana, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, and Aquifer Mapping and Management Program with regard to groundwater conservation. Then we spoke about the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is an initiative by the Ministry of Jal Shakti. It what ensures availability of water and also groundwater sustainability in 256 districts. Okay. And it is also calls for Jan Andolan with regard to conservation of water. They're trying to ensure rainwater harvesting, reclaiming the traditional water bodies, reuse of water and recharge, watershed development, intensive afforestation, etc. Then they also calls for irrigation efficiency and restoring the plantations and also cultivation of excessive trees in and around water bodies, public spaces, parks, etc. Okay, then there is a water convention by UNECE, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Okay, and it marks the 30th anniversary of that. Okay, and remember, it is for what sustainable use of transboundary water resources as water, such as water courses and international lakes. The transboundary water sources, UN Water Convention. And remember, UNECE, it not just have members from Europe, it has other members such as USA and Canada as well, and Russia. Okay. Then we spoke about lead poisoning, the level of lead poisoning in India. Okay, and the impacts it causes, and the sources of lead poisoning such as battery, automobiles, adulterated spices, cosmetics, etc. Okay, and also the paints, yes, household paints. Okay. Then we spoke about various water contaminants and diseases such as arsenic and blackfoot diseases. Fluoride causes fluorosis. Nitrogen causes what? Blue baby syndrome. Cadmium causes what? Itai or outer diseases. Mercury, Minamata disease. Lead causes anemia, headache, loss of muscle power, bluish line around the gum. Uranium contamination causes what? Yes, cancer. Manganese impairs the intellectual development. Okay, then we spoke about the forever chemicals, that is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which has been recently found in rainwater. Okay, basically it stays forever, that is, it persists in the atmosphere, rainwater or soil, and it has been included in what? Stockholm Convention. Okay, and where is it found? Yes, all surfaces which are resistant to water, grease, and oil, such as non-stick cookware, the t-shirts, dry fit t-shirts, the clothes which are resistant to water, etc. The impacts is health impacts, especially fertility and development issues, and also it also impacts what the hormones and cholesterol levels, causes cancer, as well as it reduces the creation of antibodies. Okay. Then we saw all the international convention with regarding to pollution, that is Stockholm Convention on Persisting Organic Pollution, and this Basel's Convention on control of transboundary movement of hazardous waste and the disposal. That means it does not allow transfer of hazardous waste from developed to developing countries. Then we also spoke about Rotterdam Convention on with prior informed consent for movement of certain hazardous waste and pesticides. And Minamata Convention on Mercury we spoke about. Then we also spoke about what? The Bamako Convention. Okay. Now we saw the two pesticides, that is iprodion and terbifos. Okay, they have been added to Rotterdam Convention, and iprodion is a fungicide and terbifos is a soil insecticide. And India is one of the biggest producers of what? Terbifos. Okay. Then we saw the Jaldood app, which is an initiative by Ministry of Rural Development and Panchayat Raj, which captures the water table level. Okay, by assessing the water levels in 2 to 3 wells in every village. And the data is stored in the central data repository. It is uploaded to a central data repository by National Water Informatics Center. And the significance is that this data could be used for what? The development of villages through what? Gram Panchayat Development Program and MGNRIA plans. And also the water levels is assessed 2 times pre and post monsoon. Okay. Then we spoke about the UNCCD. It is the outcome of Iowa Summit, and it's focused on the dry lands. Okay, the latest COP in Abidjan, and it calls for what? Land life legacy. Okay, and sustainable use of land, sustainable management of land. Okay, they're actually trying to chalk out a plan for what? Restoring 1 billion hectare of land by 2030 to ensure what? Land degradation neutrality. And there is an Abidjan call and also Abidjan declaration, which also focuses on gender equality. Then land legacy declaration in accordance with what? Global land outlook. Then there's also drought in numbers. Also, there's a business for land initiative, which is calling for what? All the companies across all the businesses across the world to ensure land degradation neutrality in whatever initiative they take up in supply chain as well as their CSR activity. Then there is also Sahel sourcing region for what? To enable communities to grow the Great Green Wall with the aid of technology to monitor progress and create jobs and also sell their produce. Okay. Then there is a UNCCD report, Drought and Numbers report, which was released in the COP, which estimates a drought over the next 22 years in 196 countries. And according to the report, India is one of the countries which is most impacted. We have had more than 2/3 area under drought in the last 2 years, and also there has been a fall in GDP. Okay, and India could be compared towards sub-Saharan African region. Then also we saw the global scenario where there has been huge economic loss, approximately around $124 billion, and also there has been increased frequency of and duration of droughts by at least 29% in since 2000. Okay, and also the climate change impact, and also women and children, girls are the most impacted due to what? This droughts. Then we spoke about two important rules. There's plastic waste management rules, which was amended recently, focus on extended producer responsibility and the single ban and single use plastics. Okay. And remember, EPR, extended producer responsibility, was not launched in this rules. It was there earlier in the 2016 rules. Okay. And it has classified plastic into 4 categories, and plastics, it has put mandatory recycling and reusing rules. Okay, and also central database, centralized online portal by CPCB, so that similar on the lines of ITR, the companies can file how much they have recycled the data, and also there will be an environmental compensation for polluters who are not fulfilling the targets, and the funds would be used for what? Collecting and recycling the uncollected plastic waste. And also committee will be set up for effective implementation of the EPR. Then the project replan, that is reduce plastic in nature. It is an initiative by the KVIC, Khadi Village Industries and Commission. Okay, they are trying to make plastic mixed handmade paper, an alternative for plastic bags. Okay. So yes, they're trying to mix, collect, clean, chop, and beaten and treat plastics, and then use it in a proportion 20:80 for creating what? Plastic bags. And another initiative of KVIC is terracotta grinder in Varanasi. They're trying to reuse the pottery. Okay, by grinding the used pottery. Then there is e-waste management rules. Yes, it was launched. It will be come into effect since this 1st April. Okay, and key provisions are what? Yes, it restricts the use of hazardous substances like lead, mercury, and cadmium. It also increases the coverage. It also includes laptops, mobiles, cameras, etc. And the targets, that is 60% of recycling by 2023 by with the producers, and also it will be increased to 70% by 2024 and 80% by 2025. And they have to register it in an online portal and update the data on online portal. Then there is also extended producer responsibility certificate if they are offsetting their responsibility, and also the environmental compensation. We also spoke about what the role of state governments, what they can do, and also the role of manufacturers. We must make the product recyclable as well as make it compactable. Okay. Then also we spoke about what is the role of central CPCB. They have to take random sampling and look into the adherence of this compliance by manufacturers. Okay, then the last topic was National Bioenergy Program, which is an initiative of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. They conducted a seminar recently and launched Bio-Urja and Biogas programs. Biogas portal. Okay, Bio-Urja portal. It is a platform wherein you can apply for assistance, central financial assistance, if we are trying to set up a Bio-Urja plants, such as waste-to-energy plants, biomass briquette pellets manufacturing plants, or biomass-based cogeneration projects. Okay. Then there is biogas portal, which gives all the data regarding biogas related information. Then there is a flagship national bioenergy program, which has expanded scope to 2021, 22 to 2025, 26. Okay, 2 phases. And the first phase has 3 programs: waste to energy, biomass program, and biogas program. Okay, waste to energy program, the organization implementing is IREDA. Okay, then biomass program and biogas program gives assistance to create setup plans. Okay, so these are the important topics. Now we have few more topics remaining. We'll complete it by the next class. Okay, so thank you.